Hey everyone, James with TFBTV. I've always considered Die Hard to be a Christmas movie. In fact, I was surprised to learn that the debate over whether or not Die Hard was a Christmas movie even existed.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho.
The original Die Hard is an annual tradition around the holidays at the Reeves residence, and not only is Die Hard a good Christmas movie, but it's a great gun movie. So today we're going to talk about the guns of Die Hard, some fun facts about the guns used in the film, and why Die Hard is such a great gun movie. We're also going to test how plausible the final confrontation of the film actually is. That is the Happy Trails Hans scene. Does everyone remember who John McClane's right-hand man is in the film? It's not him. No, it's not him either. There he is. That's John McClane's Beretta 92. In fact, I probably should have said left-hand man because Bruce Willis was left-handed, and all of the controls in his Beretta 92 were reversed for the film. At Bruce's request, his Beretta 92 was also outfitted with an extended slide release you can see in the photo here. Not a bad tactical option because it would have allowed McClane to more rapidly charge his Beretta after inserting a new magazine. Die Hard was filmed in 1988, and while John McClane, an NYPD officer, would not have been issued a Beretta 92 since the NYPD did not authorize semi-automatic weapons until 1993, the Beretta 92 would have been an outstanding choice as a sidearm in 1988. To discuss the Beretta 92 as a practical choice for John McClane, we spoke with Brandon LaBeouf, former Magpul instructor, Marine, and police officer, about the Beretta 92.
Actually, my relationship with the Beretta 92 started in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps in '95. Once I got through boot camp and everything, my duty required me to carry a pistol. I was a radio guy. Then shortly thereafter, I got picked up on the Marine Corps Reserve Rifle and Pistol Team, so I shot this quite a bit. And that's pretty much where my hatred for it began. I wouldn't say hatred, it's a love-hate relationship. I love the gun, it's a great nostalgic gun, it's a well-made gun, but I have small mittens and it's just a monster in my hands. And then also
That's
one of the...
what she said?
That's exactly what she said. The other thing is one of the agencies, law enforcement agencies that I work for issued this. In fact, this exact gun is when they went from the Beretta 92s to the Beretta PX4 Storms, a lot of the guys were able to buy their service guns back, and this is one of the ones that somebody bought back. It's not mine, but it's one of theirs. So it's a great shooting gun. I shoot it well, I like it, but it does feel like it's holding a landscape timber in my hand when I shoot.
And other than the ergonomics, though, you would have a favorable impression of this gun?
Absolutely. If I was going to if I wanted a double action, single action gun, this would be one of the first guns I'd look at. Obviously, partly because of my familiarity with it, higher magazine capacity. I know it's robust and it works. I mean, I've seen some of them that have literally over 100,000 rounds through them in the armory and things like that. And then just the cool factor. I always love the fact that you can literally just walk up and take the gun down.
Yeah.
You know.
Jet Li.
Never really got to do it in real life on anybody, but I was waiting for that opportunity.
Right. In 1988, this is still a pretty sophisticated gun, too. I mean, it is today, as we sit here today. But in 1988, when Die Hard was being filmed, I mean, you had Glock that came out in the early 80s.
They were still kind of a plastic gun that no one took seriously at that point, and this was one of the more prevalent duty guns because, again, it was also the military gun, and that's where law enforcement, especially more so back then, would tend to lean a little more heavy on what the military was doing. So if it was being produced in large, magazines, we've got a box of magazines. I mean, you can get mil-cert magazines for sometimes $2, $3 a piece. So, it certainly gets the job done. I never had any issues with it. I really didn't.
The Beretta 92 is a 15+1 round 9mm semi-automatic pistol. As far as 9mm go, it's generally on the large side, but this additional weight also saps up the recoil, making it great for combat. In fact, it was the sidearm of the greatest military of the world until recently when the U.S. military replaced it with the SIG P320. And to those ends, John McClane actually took out 5 bad guys with his Beretta 92 in the film. The 92 is also very reliable, due in no small part to the full 180-degree ejection port, which gives more space for casing extraction versus most semi-automatic pistols that have a smaller unidirectional ejection port. Interestingly, Bruce Willis allegedly experienced permanent hearing damage as a result of firing his Beretta 92 upwards and near his face in the scene where he shoots Marco while he's under the Nakatomi Plaza conference table. Although the Beretta was an excellent choice for the film's protagonist, what about the guns used by Hans Gruber and his henchmen? In short, it's my opinion that these guns were also perfectly selected. Hans and his men are a polished and sophisticated group of burglars masquerading as terrorists, and their loadout says more high-end German thieves than crowd-funded religious terrorists. While your average terrorist group would be equipped with AK-47s and crappy surplus handguns,
Who said we were terrorists?
Hans's gang totes only the best European hardware. Let's start with the second most recognizable gun from the movie, the H&K Mp5. Most of the henchmen in the film carry the H&K Mp5, which is a German submachine gun renowned for its reliability and its quality. This 9mm submachine gun was designed in the 1960s, but is still in very common use today with military units and police forces around the globe. The bad guys here use the common 30-round magazines, which gives good capacity in a small, handy package. These MP5s that Hans's henchmen use are even more agile, thanks to the fact that they're configured as collapsible stock MP5A3s instead of the fixed stock MP5A2s. The stock opens and closes easily by way of a small paddle in the stock assembly. And speaking of paddles, the MP5s in the film are not, in fact, MP5s at all. And one of the giveaways is the lack of a paddle magazine release. One of the best features of the MP5 and the best way to strip a magazine out of the gun is to use the paddle mag release by the magwell rather than the button mag release, which is a little bit too far forward of the grip. The film MP5s are actually converted HK94s. The HK94 was the civilian version of the MP5 that was made with an unwieldy 16-inch barrel in order to comply with federal firearm laws, and for some reason, it didn't come with a paddle magazine release. The HK94 also didn't feature the 3 lugs at the end of the barrel used for mounting a silencer either. In 1988, the HK94 was easy to get and convert for use in the film. The HK94 only cost about $600 back in 1988, but HK has stopped making the civilian HK94, and a new in-box HK94 might fetch up to $5,000 today. Now, getting past the HK94 MP5 distinction, the MP5 itself is a sophisticated, effective, and controllable submachine gun and represents perhaps the ideal choice for a real or fictional high-end criminal operation like the one depicted in Die Hard. It's worth noting that the MP5 uses the same ammunition as the Beretta 92, therefore providing a plausible source of ammunition for John McClane. The film even goes so far as to depict this, showing McClane moving ammunition between the magazines of both weapons at least one point in the film. Most action films don't think to provide a realistic source of the seemingly bottomless ammunition supplies consumed by the film's protagonists. I say the MP5 is the second most recognizable gun from the film because the most famous Die Hard gun is easily the Steyr AUG. While there are arguments to be made in favor of the MP5 being the more notorious gun from the film, the following exercise will prove my point. Talk to a relative who knows little to nothing about guns and ask them their opinion of the Steyr AUG. They'll give you a blank stare until you say, you know, the gun from Die Hard. And they'll say, oh, the one with a quick change barrel, right? As a brief aside, this shows how great Die Hard is as a gun movie because the film doesn't go out of its way to say, look at this Steyr AUG and how cool it is. It's just done with no effort. The Steyr AUG is the only heavily featured gun from the film that shoots a rifle caliber. Unlike the 9mm MP5s used by the other bad guys, Carl's Steyr shoots a much more powerful 5.56mm round similar to the M16 or AR-15. The AUG's made by Steyr Austria, and the gun works well cast alongside the MP5, as it's also a well-made and expensive European military firearm. The AUG is a high-quality gun, and its bore, chamber, and working components are chrome-plated for durability and reliability. As Carl demonstrates, the barrel is easily removable as it locks into 8 steel lugs in the receiver, and it has a folding vertical grip that aids not only with stability in shooting, but as a handle to assist with the barrel swap. Easily removing the barrel makes the AUG more easily transportable and coincidentally makes an overheated barrel easy to swap out when the AUG is used in its open bolt squad automatic weapon configuration. The AUG is a bullpup design, which means that the magazine and most of the operating components are situated at the rear of the stock. While there are a number of drawbacks to the bullpup, perhaps the greatest advantage is that moving the internal components to the rear allows the AUG with a 16-inch barrel to be roughly the same overall length as the MP5, which has just a 9-inch barrel. Thus, the longer-barreled AUG is effective to past 500 meters with its rifle caliber round, while being the same general size as the compact and much weaker 9mm MP5 submachine gun. The AUG's receiver housing is steel-reinforced aluminum, which makes it durable but lightweight. Similarly, the rifle stock is made from fiberglass-reinforced polyamide 66. This is definitely high-tech now, but it was beyond the cutting edge back in 1978 when the AUG was introduced. It can't be emphasized enough that the AUG, which is a technologically advanced rifle by even today's standards, was introduced 40 years ago and has been relatively unchanged since. Despite the ammunition incompatibility, this gun was still a practical choice, while also being unusual enough to make an impression on the viewer when first seeing Carl assemble his rig in the elevator on his way to kill John McClane. A big shout out to Kavar for sending me this Steyr AUG to use in this video. If you're looking for the Steyr AUG because the Christmas spirit took a hold of you, go check out Kavar. They've got the best prices and the most options for Steyr AUGs on the market today. Of course, the literal cult of the P7 would pitch a fit if we didn't give Hans Gruber's personal H K P7 proper billing. The H K P7 used by Gruber is the perfect choice for his role. Like Hans Gruber himself, the P7 is refined, deadly, German, and complicated. The P7 is made by H&K, the same manufacturer as the H&K Mp5 used by Hans's henchmen. Like the Mp5, it's also a 9mm, meaning that unlike his right-hand man Carl, Hans gets to share ammo with his crew. The P7 is unusual in a number of ways. First, the P7 is known as a squeeze cocker. The P7 has an unusual grip trigger which serves two purposes. First, it of course acts as a grip safety. The gun won't fire unless the grip is affirmatively squeezed, and it actually takes quite a few pounds of pressure to depress the grip. There are anecdotes about law enforcement officers having their P7s taken from them in a struggle, but the perpetrators being unable to use the P7s due to the unorthodox grip safety. Perhaps more importantly, the squeeze cocking system pre-cocks the striker, which means the trigger is very light and crisp. Since the gun's already cocked, all the trigger does is release the striker, so not much pressure is required on the trigger to do so. Additionally, the P7 uses a gas piston to delay blowback, which is extremely unusual for a handgun. This allows the P7 to be a straight blowback design with a fixed and accurate barrel, while still maintaining a slim profile slide. It has the negative drawback, however, of making the dust cover of the frame extremely hot after rapid fire. The P7M8 was introduced in 1976 and it features a single stack 8-round magazine. Hans, however, uses a hard chromed P7M13, which features a double stack 13-round magazine, making it more of a practical choice than the P7M8. The hard chromed version is more durable than the standard blue model and much more expensive. HK doesn't make the P7 anymore, but they remain desirable as collector guns. A chromed P7M13 like Hans's would likely fetch $4,000 in today's market, and the hard-to-find magazines for the P7M13 would run at least $200 each. Alan Rickman was rarely shown discharging the P7 because he apparently had a terrible flinch reaction to gunfire. Look at when he shoots Takagi.
Okay.
Speaking of reactions, Rickman has a stunned appearance on his face when he falls out of the window at the end of the movie. Alan Rickman was dropped to film this scene, and they told him that he would be dropped on the count of 5. But he was dropped at a 2 count instead in order to elicit the reaction of genuine surprise from the actor. Just prior to his fall, Hans was shot in the torso by John McClane, who then shoots the fake security guard Eddie between the eyes, all in under 3 seconds from drawing to the last shot. It was a great ending scene, but how plausible is the happy trail scene from the end of the movie? Could a police officer like McClane actually achieve this feat? We set out to discover this for ourselves. We got a Beretta 92 and some packing tape, just like in the film. We set up 2 targets at 7 yards. Is it possible to draw a gun taped to your back and fire 1 torso shot and 1 headshot from 7 yards in under 3 seconds? Let's have a look.
Oh, yeah. What was it you said to me before? Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Get him in the face that time?
Yeah, right.
All right.
Left side of the nose.
The first time, as I predicted, the tape prevented the gun from ejecting the first spent casing. If you have tape on the slide, I think there's a good chance that it's going to cause a failure to eject. On our second try, we got the follow-up shot off, but the tape obscured the front sight, preventing an accurate shot. Eddie would have been shot in the chin instead of between the eyes. But the third time was the charm. The gun functioned perfectly, and I managed to fire a shot in the middle of Hans's torso and right in Eddie's face in less than 2 seconds. So I would say that this is entirely plausible, although generally unlikely because of complications that could have arisen with the tape. In fact, the least plausible part, in my opinion, would have been McClane taping the gun to his back by himself. Fortunately, Brandon was there to reluctantly assist me with this one. He'll never be the same. But you also have to think that Eddie, the fake security guard, would have had a quicker reaction time in the heat of the moment, probably dumping his MP5 into McClane before he could have drawn down on Eddie. But we'll chalk that one up to a Christmas miracle. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you to the support of Ventura Munitions and Blue Alpha Gear, our sponsors, and thank you to our Patreon supporters. Guys, if you want to enter into a free gun giveaway every month, go to tfbtv.gun.team right now to see how you can enter. Thanks again, and happy holidays, everyone.